Hey everyone, this is Andrew, and in this video I'm going to talk about eDNA Earth by Spitfire Audio. So eDNA Earth is a somewhat new release by Spitfire, and it's not the traditional release that they normally do. Traditionally, all their releases are kind of orchestral, not all of them, but the majority of them are realistic sounding orchestral libraries that focus on sampling, world-class players in a excellent space, studio, hall, whatever. So since Spitfire has been collecting this sample database for, I think, decades, they went through and they picked some samples, they put them in the DAW, they heavily manipulated them, and they turned them into synthesizer. So there's a lot of different patches. As you can see on the screen here, if I go back, you have all these menus, and each one of them has a bunch of presets. And in total, there is, I think it's 1,001 presets for 1,900 or more than 1,900 raw sounds. So that means that if you look into the advanced editor, what is it actually called? Edit mode. If you go to the mapping editor, there's 2 sounds per instrument. In this case, actually, sorry, they all have an A and a B sound, but there's certain samples inside of each, and this kind of represents like one sound, one for A and one for B. So if you go and I look up, let's see, drums and percussion. No reason to do drums and percussion. I've never opened up one of the drums and percussion patches. But we'll do the same thing. We'll look inside of these samples. I'm expecting this one to be different. So this one actually just has one sound, probably because they figured this particular drum sound didn't need a second sound to blend with it. So anyways, that's the premise of eDNA Earth. So I'm going to quit out of this sound here, and I'm going to go into keys, and I'm going to pick one. This is always the hard part. Dystopian Dawn. That one sounds exciting. So I want more release, so I'm going to turn up the release here. Again, this is it functions as a synthesizer, so you can think of it like a synthesizer. There we go. I don't know about you, but for me, it just makes me smile. This is just one of the 1,001 patches. So if I go down, I'll literally just close my eyes, grab one, maddest organ ever known, drag it on. Yes. Let's just see what this one is. Now, this particular one doesn't have the mod wheel shown, but from most of the ones I've opened, you can kind of just play around with the mod wheel and you will be able to blend the sound. So I think in the ones that have this MW after, they have additional parameters, or the core of their sound is functionally dependent on the mod wheel. But anyways, the point was to close my eyes and open up a random one. I'll open up a random one again. Doesn't have MW. MW. Because I just want to show you that on average, you can just probe around this library and you get some great sounds. You don't really have to pick a certain one. Let's do the mod wheel. This is more of a plucky type thing, which it's called old school techno plex mod wheel. Which is pretty cool. It transforms across the sound, and I wonder if the sound itself is a pluck. So it does have some sustain. I'm going to make this very plucky, and I'll make this one very releasey. Open up the plucks again. There we go. I don't know if that was something I did or if that was a glitch with eDNA Earth, but I'm going to leave that edit in there. So that's the kind of power that you get with some of these mod wheel patches. This is a very generic example, and I literally picked it at random. So don't judge the power of it just off of that. Now, we'll go into Atmos, drones, and scapes. So this is kind of big atmospheric things. Hit one key, let it ring out for a minute kind of sounds. So this one I will look and pick. How about something amazing is going on over there? Yes. So as you can see in this case, the gate sequencer is running. The panning of the two sounds A and B, or sorry, not panning, but the fading between sounds A and B is happening automatically. I'm not doing that with the mod wheel. You can see that on the screen. And it sounds pretty dynamic and evolving. So let me open up another one. How about Dark Oscillator Drone? I want something a little more brash, if you will. Something that I can filter out and kind of show you what the synth is actually capable of doing when you start playing with the parameters and how to actually use the parameters. If you're a synth head, you'll kind of just be familiar with this anyways, but I'll go through them anyways. So there we go. Thought my computer was going to crash for a second. I was going to be very disappointed. There we go. So this has some high frequency content I can use, I think. So you see you have this low pass and high pass. And right now I'm filtering the sound in just A. If I do it for so as A fades away, as B comes in, you notice that me wobbling that becomes less prevalent. Now here, you hear it being affected there. So you have a low pass for A and B, and you have a high pass for A and B. Now, in addition to that, you have an ADSR on the volume, and you have that for both A and B oscillators. So now, in terms of other controls, there is a pitch wobble, filter wobble, and volume wobble. Basically, those are it's another word for LFO. I'll get out of the Atmos, drones, and scopes, and I'll go back to synth, and I'll do breathy expanse. Yes, really replace. Now, if you're wondering why some of these are taking kind of long to load, I haven't done the technique where you go to save and do batch resave. Usually that will make your libraries much faster to load. This isn't too bad, so I'm living with it for now. Any that are too bad, I'm just going to edit out of this video. So in addition to the filters and the envelopes for both A and B, you also have tuning, you have panning, you have transposing, and you have volume trim for each of the A and B oscillators. In addition to that, you can control the LFO speed for the volume, pitch, and filter. There also is a glide parameter for portamento-based sounds. And then there is this kind of doubling thing that I don't actually know what it does yet. It says it will make the voice double, but it kind of makes it sound an octave higher, so who knows? But as we work down, you'll see this gate sequencer. I poked here already. So I can start clicking things around. And so it works like a typical sequencer. You can just pick your pattern for both A and B. I can just go in and I can start disabling random ones for each of these. And when I play it, if I put this roughly in the middle, make it more obvious, I'm going to pan A to the left and B all the way to the right. So already I think you can kind of tell that there's a lot of power in this. Because you have two different sounds that are picked for you. But anyways, the power of being able to blend these two sounds and tune them, pan them, transpose them, and everything like that. Separate ADSRs, separate filtering is alone very powerful. You add this kind of sequencer that's a dual sequencer actually for each independent oscillator. It adds a ton of power. And then you multiply this across 1,001 patches, and it just kind of becomes stupid power. So then under the sequencer, you see you have this FX dash, which is kind of like a quick view at some of the effects parameters. Please insert coin. No idea what that does, but you have access to some of the effects parameters there. If you go into the effects and motor tab, then you will see that there's just like an insane amount of control over the effects. There's a master effects area where you can assign effects to like the entire instrument. Effects just for Bay A and Bay B. There's auxiliary effects, and then there are, send effects / aux effects, and then there's also motor effects. And there's also this motor 1 and then motor 2. And as you can see with these knobs, there's intensity, frequency, sine, rectangle, triangle, saw, and randomized parameters. So this is an LFO with this a multi-LFO, as they call it. It's got you can kind of blend sines and triangles and rectangles to create your own LFO shape, and then you can control how like the intensity and frequencies affect the submotor that's attached to it. You're probably starting to see the image that this is a ridiculously powerful synthesizer, and my plan is to actually spend the time and figure out how to use this in more detail. Right now I've only been playing around with this top part of the first page, so that's where I'm going to leave this video, because I don't want to try to BS my way through all this motor stuff and effect stuff. I'd rather come back later and explain it to you in detail, and then we'll go through and we'll listen to more stuff, and then we'll actually kind of score eDNA Earth in a way that makes sense, that you can relate to, not just I think it's great or I think it's meh. I'll go through some metrics, look at the cost per gigabyte, the sample quality, the number of presets, which is just, and then I'll also look at things like the GUI layout and just extra things like that. So anyways, there'll be another video on this instrument in the future, but I thought this would be a cool, fun first look at the features and what's included. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.